Dogs got the questions, digging so sharp, peeling back layers, hitting the heart. Drop Shute podcast, blowing your mind. Every topic, one of a
What's up?
Hey, Josh. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah. How are you?
Good. Good. Yeah, I'm just trying to get the mindset. But you must have that as a musician. Like you got to like get your mind right for the show, right? You have like a routine that you do.
Of course. Yeah.
Can you share some tips for me?
My process is probably much different than yours because it's more of a physical job for me. But yeah, I have all the check marks I gotta do. I'm a creature of habit first and foremost. So I got to do. My process is. I have a regimen as far as like how I get my mind right, my voice right, and everything before I walk on for sure.
Yeah, because I remember last time we talked, you told me that you don't drink any water, and then that was like a huge headline, which I thought, okay, I mean, it was interesting, but I was surprised that was the part of the interview that the press ran away with. I guess that's kind of unusual.
Yeah, I mean, I don't drink any water while I'm performing,
Right.
but I hydrate a lot before I get on stage. But yeah, that's part of my process. It doesn't work for everybody, but
Yeah. Well, I saw
uh,
you guys recently. I mean, I seen you before, like I think it was a festival or something, but then I saw this last tour with Skid Row, and it was
mhm.
so awesome. That was a great package. Um,
Yeah, a lot of fun.
yeah, you
Yeah.
did. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious, like what your experiences was. Did you? I mean, I'm assuming you hang with those guys and stuff, right?
I mean, everybody thinks that everybody's palling around, and it's just not that. It's not that way. I mean, both of us are veterans. We've been doing it a long time. So everybody has their own uh, way to handle touring. And nobody really bothers anybody, and everybody does their own thing. Especially us older guys. We have our own little thing that we got to do during the day, and honestly, you spend so much time together in small spaces that you just want to just kind of chill and be by yourself sometimes, and those moments are you cherish on the road.
For sure. Yeah, it's tough because I'm assuming you have a bus and then you share that with your band, and
And
it's like
crew.
work.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Yeah,
people.
I think Tracy Guns was telling me when I had him on, he said like, I mean, that will sometimes make or break decisions in the band. Like they had to fire somebody because he was snoring too loud. It woke up the whole band, the whole crew.
Oh yeah, there's that. There's a lot of guys with hygiene issues, grown ass men, that just they don't want to take showers and they don't want to brush their teeth, and they stink and stuff like that. I mean, you gotta work through all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's life on the road.
Yeah. I think it's just, that stuff is so interesting. I don't know if that's good or bad. Just seeing behind the curtain now with all these interviews and podcasts and stuff, you kind of see, kind of how the sausage is made, I guess. Whereas back in the day, everyone just assumed everything was so glorious and it's girls backstage and party and fun. And like, but like for you, it's a job, it's work.
Yeah, and it was a job back then too. I mean, it was just a different time period, and there
Mhm.
was a lot more money being thrown at people as far as like when you were in this business, as far as what you could make, just from the record. People were selling crazy amounts of records and getting huge returns, and what I mean. So it was a lot crazier, and so bands back then probably had band buses where it was just the band on the bus, and then they had crew bus, so two different buses, so now it's different. You got a
Yeah.
budget, but your budget's smaller.
Right. And then like these bands that kind of allegedly don't get along, if they're big enough, they can
Yep.
get their own bus. And it's like, I mean, that's you hear these stories like, oh, Vince Neil has his own bus and Nikki Sixx, they
Yeah.
all get their own buses. And then they
Yeah.
say, no, we get along. We're great. They put their arms around each other, but then they all go to their separate buses. So,
Yeah, but that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money,
right. And
you
I
know.
think too, like, and maybe they do get along fine for a working relationship, but it's like you said, like, you want your own time at the end of I mean, I think like even if it was my best friend, I don't really want to spend every waking moment with them. I want to have my own time to be alone and relax. And
Yeah, but I mean, listen, I've been sober almost over 30 years. So,
Mhm.
I have my own like spiritual, like little regimen that I do to, just to be able to deal with everybody in close quarters, and we all have our little things that we do to cope, and good communication is key, all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, speaking of Motley Crue, it was interesting. I'm going through. You've been everywhere. You've done so many cool things, but I forgot that you were in. Weren't you in the Saints of Los Angeles music video for Motley Crue?
Yeah. Yeah, I was.
Was that
I
fun?
was. It was, I don't know. It was very quick. Nobody's brought that up for a long time. But yeah, I don't even remember it honestly. Like I was in it, but I think it was very quick.
Okay, you're not close with those guys, or like guys. I know Nikki. He's big on the sobriety thing too. I don't know if you guys had like a bond with that or anything.
We're all very friendly when we have something going on where it involves both of us. But I mean, other than that, everybody's got their own lives and does their thing.
Sure. Yeah. Now you're touring with. Are you still doing shows with Steel Panther? You still have some coming up, right?
We just did a huge tour with Steel Panther in Canada. We did over 4 weeks in Canada, which is a lot of dates up there. We covered all of Canada, all of the West Coast, through the middle to the very farthest east, Nova Scotia. So it was crazy. We had a lot of fun. They're great guys. We've toured with them before, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love that. I've seen them so many times. I think what's so interesting about Steel Panther is they have this like comedy shtick. And
Yeah,
I used to go in Vegas, and when it started, it was free, and you could go and just watch them. And it was like, oh, this is fun. I mean, of course, you got to pay for beverages or whatever. But
right.
what was interesting is that every night I would see them, it was a different shtick. Like they never repeated the same jokes. I was like, did they just think of this stuff on the spot, or they just prep it the night before, like, and they change it, or is it? It's so interesting because I've probably seen them 15 or 20 times, and it's never been the same jokes.
It's funny. Those guys are just funny. They're funny off stage, and they're just quick with that. And I'm sure a lot of it is improvised, like you're saying, and I'm sure they have, a bag of tricks of shtick that they can pull out whenever they need to. They've been doing it for years and years and years. So, repetition is the mother of skill. They got that show down, and it's really great. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I saw some article the other day about how Michael Starr was on a plane and somebody was like harassing him and saying that he looked like Bon Jovi or something. I was just like, wow, that sucks. Like if I saw him, I'd want a picture with him, but hey, that's just me.
He's a sweetheart.
Yeah, he seems like a really nice guy. So you've
Yeah.
done that show, you did the Skid Row, and you did shows with AC/DC. You said that was the best rock experience of your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll never forget when I first got Back in Black. That record was changed me. And I was so into that record, I used to put it in my back pocket, like a cassette at that point. And I go to like house parties and hijack the stereo, and I just put it in and just like watch people react to it. And just loved it. And then of course, I got into their whole catalog, and I just think they're the greatest, hard rock band of all time. And so cut to when we did 5 shows with them during the Time Bomb tour, which was our second record. And we got to, after Madison Square Garden show, they said, oh, you can go meet the guys and hang out with them for a second in their dressing room after the show. And we're like, really? And it was amazing. They were all in one dressing room. I'll never forget it. I sat next to Angus, and everybody was just chilling on the couch, just telling jokes. And Brian was walking around cutting jokes, and like he's super funny and sweet. And they didn't care about taking pictures or anything. They gave us full sound for our show. You know what I mean? They didn't clip the sound to make us not as loud as them. Like a lot of bands do on the road and headliners do. And Angus's wife was like making hot tea for everyone. It was really a neat experience.
That is interesting. Do you find that some of the bigger people like that, like AC/DC and Alice Cooper and stuff, do they kind of make fun of? Are they self-deprecating sometimes? Because I had this actor on the show, and he worked with like George Clooney, and he said all the people like that. He said George Clooney, he always makes fun of himself. He talks about how he was fired from Roseanne, and he talks about all his bad acting experiences. Do you ever find that with musicians where they talk about their bad shows or bad albums?
I don't know. Maybe that is maybe that's something they throw out, like a defense mechanism. I have no idea, but no, I haven't experienced it. Like Angus was just like a sweetheart, and I just asked him a lot of questions about his career, and he answered them honestly, and it was like it was really neat. And then I got comfortable, and I just hung out, and it was nice, and I just listened, and it was a part of the just the camaraderie, and then we left.
Yeah, I think they're back on. I need to see that. I saw them in '95 on the Ball Breaker tour. I don't know if you remember that one, but it was so cool. It was one of the coolest openings I've ever seen for a concert. They had this big ball and it knocked down this wall, and then they came out, and I was like, wow, that was one of the coolest entrances I've ever seen for a rock concert.
That's cool. No, I didn't see that particular tour, but like a wrecking ball,
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's
yeah.
cool. I think I've seen it on, footage of it.
Yeah. So this new album you guys have, I thought I was so clever because I was like, putting my little notes for the songs, and I was like, come on. I was like, oh, that kind of sounds like AC/DC. And then I heard all these other interviews and everyone said that. And I was like, fuck. All
Yeah.
right, well, I guess I'm not that original. So everyone's saying that though, but that is a good song.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the music definitely sounds like AC/DC, but we've been doing AC/DC sounding songs since our first record, I mean, we're huge fans. But once you throw my voice on it and melodies and all of it, it turns into a Buckcherry song. But yeah, a lot of people have been referencing AC/DC on that song. It's funny.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because you were saying like the Back in Black, but what year was that? Because initially you were really into like punk music, right? And then
Yeah.
you got into more of the classic rock. Like initially you
Yeah.
hadn't heard Black Sabbath or any of these guys, and you're like,
No.
oh, this shit's pretty cool too.
It's funny you bring up Black Sabbath because I surfed with my son this morning, and the first time I heard Sabbath was after surfing. I was a teenager. I was stoned. I'd smoked a joint and fucking. I had a friend who had this bug, and the only thing that had money in it was was the stereo system. I was like literally sitting on two giant speaker boxes in the back seat, stoned, and War Pigs. He put on War Pigs and turned it up, and I was like, what? I thought my fucking brain was melting. I was like, what the fuck is this, man? This is dope. And that was my introduction to Black Sabbath, because like you said, all my early records are independent punk rock records, so that's why when I heard Back in Black, that was the first AC/DC record that I'd heard. I didn't know that there was all these ones before that with a different singer, and um I just was down, I liked it because it had grit, it was not polished in my opinion, and I could relate to it, and it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, you reflect back. I mean, like you said, 30 years or whatever sobriety, but you reflect back on some of that stuff, like the song you have on the new record, Blackout. I mean, you're talking about when you would black out when you were drunk
Yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah, I was a blacked out drinker. I could not hold. I'm a very skinny guy, and just by nature, I always have been, and couldn't hold my liquor. I was a blackout drinker, and so those are about more the fun stories of blacking out, like when I was really young, and then it got pretty dark, Um, but yeah, that's why I love that song. That's my favorite song on the record.
Really? Okay. So some
Yeah,
of the memories of the drug and alcohol days, some of it was positive that you can look back. You don't want to go
of
back there, but
course,
yeah.
of course. No, I had a lot of fun drinking and using for a lot of years, and then it started becoming not fun and just wrecking my life, and had to do something about it.
Yeah, well, that's what's interesting. Like in the song "Roar Like Thunder," you have a lyric like "Time is a teacher. How will I change? And if I had a choice, I'd feel no pain." But isn't
Yeah.
pain a teacher too? Like, isn't that how we learn to change? I mean, you wouldn't have gotten sober if you hadn't had pain.
Yes, tremendous amount of pain, and we've written a song called "Pain."
I love that song. That's the best song you ever wrote, I think, in my opinion.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great song, but listen, nobody likes going through pain. You know what I mean? Even though you know that you're going to get to a new level and all of that intellectually, you can think about it that way. But deep down inside, since I was a kid, all I wanted to do was have fun and party. You know what I mean? I just wanted to I wanted to die young and like all of that. I wanted to go out in a fucking, ball of flames and burn it down and, just I just had a lot going on inside of me, and I just thought that was like going to be the most fun for me. I never thought I would live to 30, honestly. So, um, that being said, I didn't want to feel any pain. I wanted to figure out a way to not feel pain for the rest of my life, and I just couldn't figure it out.
So how did you? So what changed? Because I'm assuming you still have that. Like Nikki Sixx talks about, like how he's sober now, but he's like, I still burn. So that's why I think they were doing at one point. He was doing like skydiving and shit like that. Like, I know
Right.
you play tennis and you're into like
Yeah.
dirt bikes and stuff. Is that how you kind of use that fun energy that you want to just do crazy shit?
Well, I've I I've loved competing since I was a kid. You know what I mean? I was in a lot of sports and Pop Warner's football, soccer, baseball, when I was a kid. And I like to win. I like to figure out how to win, and at one point I was racing go-karts, and it was just taking so much time away from my family, and I already have enough time away. And because it'd take me an hour to drive out to the track, and it was starting to become a money pit as well. It's a lot of money to start to race go-karts. And so I'm like, fuck this. I sold all my shit, and I'm like, I gotta find something, and I had a friend who played tennis when I was a kid, and I just remember that. And I just started working on it. And tennis is so great because there's literally so many aspects to the game that you got to figure out to get really good. And it's a chess match, and it's very physical. I can't think of anything else when I'm on court than winning and trying to figure out how to beat my opponent. And that is so therapeutic for me because I have to get away from life, the rat race. I got to get away from that, and I got to get away from music, and it's really good for me.
Yeah, I'm a big Seahawks. I don't think you're a sports fan, but I'm a Seahawks fan. I know their old coach Pete Carroll talked about there was some book about tennis and about how to, and it's like he used that for coaching, like his philosophy. It was like
Yeah.
I forget what it's called, but I don't know if are you familiar with that? You know what I'm talking about?
No, but I can understand why, anybody would say that about tennis. It's
Hmm.
it's a very humbling sport too. Like no matter how great you get, you win a match and you just think like I'm gonna start just killing. I'm gonna be winning all the time.
Mhm.
And then the next match you'll be, knocked right down to size again, and you'll have to figure out like why did I lose that? What was I not putting together? Tennis IQ is a huge thing. Like I can go on and on about tennis. I mean, you can have a great forehand and backhand and volley and a great serve, but if you don't put it all together the right way, you'll get beat, by a clever opponent. So that's why I love it. It's really challenging.
Yeah, no, that's just interesting. I'm just like when I hear you say that, it almost brings parallels to well, for me, podcasting, because I could have a really good interview, a good podcast, and the next one will bomb. But I'm assuming that's similar for music, right? Like it's strategy, like there's ups and downs. Like you can have a great album or tour or whatever, or show, and you think you're on top of the world, and then the next one might not go as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, at some point when you're making a record, you got to say, as an artist, this is it. This is the record. We got to shut the door on this and call it a day, and roll the dice and see what people think, but after all these years, we know what a bad song sounds like. We know when something isn't working, and we're not going to put it out or uh just carry on when we're feeling like that. So we just continue to work until we feel like we got the record, and that comes with experience and being consistent. You know what I mean? I don't know how bands go years and years and years without dropping records. I gotta be working that muscle every 2 years. Like we have a cycle. We put out a record every couple of years.
I've noticed that, yeah, because I think the last time we talked, it was like almost exactly 2 years ago, 2023, with the last album. So do
Yeah.
you feel like with when you say you make a great record, are you making a great record for the fans or for yourself or something in between? Because that's what I've noticed with podcasts. Like sometimes I think there's a really good interview and I'm like, oh my God, the world needs to hear this. This is the greatest interview ever. And it gets like 40 views. And
Yeah.
so it's like people want certain things, and like I know what people want. They want the drama, they want the gossip, they want that. That's the shit they want. But it's like, but I want something deeper. Like, do you ever feel that way? Like you probably know if you make Crazy Bitch Part 2, that's going to be the biggest thing. But maybe you want to write a song like Pain because it's fucking deeper and it's like it's more meaningful to you.
No, whatever you think is going to work out is always the opposite. You know, it's you don't want to chase crazy, bitch, because you can never get anything that's going to be that big. You know what I mean? Like, you have to just accept that that was the peak right there, as far as like, and you can get a peak like that, but you have to, have a different subject, different song or whatever. You know what I mean? It's got to be fresh, and what I've learned over the years is that, first and foremost, I did this because it was the only thing that continuously made me happy. You know what I mean? So, uh, I do this for myself because I really love music to this day, and I love coming up with a great melody, and I love, I've written all the words in on Buckcherry Records, so I really enjoy that, creating a word, songs are like short stories, emotions, and it's a documentary of my life, really. But you have to take a little bit of your personal life, and then you have to listen to the lives around you, and you have, I have to read books, and I have to do all kinds of things to study storytelling and songwriting. And anyways, that being said, I do it for myself and for the audience. It's not just one or the other. I think about our audience when I'm writing songs and what's going to resonate with them, and and subject matters and all that stuff. And simplicity is also an art form. You want to make it simple so that people can remember it very quickly, and that's how you get hit songs.
Yeah. Oh, that's really fascinating. I'm interested in what you said about, your songwriting process. Like you read books. What kind of books do you read that inspire you to write music?
Always true crime. I read
Really?
so much. Yeah, I'm a true crime fanatic, so um or I'll read books on pandemics. Before COVID-19, I read a lot of books on pandemics. There's a book called The Hot Zone. It was about the Ebola virus, and I really love that book. I mean, I love reading, I mean, especially on the road. It's fun to just sit and be quiet and go, and create a whole, visual storyline in your head when you're reading. It's great.
Yeah. So are some of these songs on this new record inspired by books that you wrote about
Well,
stories?
some of the songs in the past, like "Broken Glass," was inspired by "The Art of War."
Mhm.
Let's see, on one of these records, Volume 10, I think, was inspired by true crime. I wanted to write from like, a perspective of like a sociopath, and because I always liked that song "Every Breath You Take," that the Police wrote.
Yeah.
It's about a stalker.
Right.
People. I When I first started, I thought it was a love story, but it's not. It's a stalker, and I thought that
Kind of
was,
though.
yeah, I
It's a
thought that was
one-way
so,
love story, not both ways. Yeah.
I thought it was a very clever way to approach a song. And, people can interpret and attach themselves to a song any way they want to. That's what's wonderful about songs, but the person writing it, that was his perspective. And I love that, so I wanted to do that.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too that so originally the first single on this record was going to be Let It Burn, but then you're
It
like,
was.
oh, it was like the fires are going on, let's change
Yeah.
that. But and so you put
Yeah.
that at the end of the record, but that is a really
Yeah.
cool song. I could
It's a
see, I
great,
listened to it and I was like,
yeah.
that does sound like a single.
Yeah, it's a great song. We wrote it way before the fire started, and it just wasn't an appropriate time to drop it, and we just did a video for it, actually a live video. It came out really good, and we'll be dropping that somewhere down the line.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's so that'll be it just won't be the first single, but it could be a future single.
No, the first single already dropped. It's Roar
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
Thunder. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
okay. Yeah, awesome. So this album comes out June 3rd. No, wait, is it 13th? I think I wrote it
June
down.
13th. Yeah,
Yeah.
June 13th.
And there's
And
single, and I think there's the video for Roar Like That. I just watched that. That was fun too. Was that cool
yeah,
to
there's two
do?
videos out right now, Roar Like Thunder and Set It Free. And there's also a lyric video to Come On. And you get all three of those songs. You pre-order the record right now, and it's a great record. You're gonna love it.
Yeah. Can you get the vinyl and all that stuff too? Because that's a big thing that some people are really into the vinyl.
Yeah, there's vinyl. You just got to go to buckcherry.com for all that, and you can pre-order the vinyl and all of that.
Yeah. That's it. And what else? Do you guys got any other big shows that you're excited about coming up?
Lots of shows. We got a residency in Vegas coming up in August with the Scorpions. We're really excited
Yeah.
about that. We're going to be playing with Kid Rock coming up. That's very going to be a lot of fun, and we're putting together some package tours right now that I don't want to mention until it's done. But
Ooh.
yeah, we're going to be touring a lot with a lot of other great acts as well.
Yeah, I saw that you're coming. I'm in Arizona here, and I saw you're coming to play in Parker, and I'm really intrigued by that show because it's on. I don't know if you've ever been there, but
Yep.
this is going to be a great show for you because it's on the river, and it's going to just be. It's like there's gonna the stage is like partly a dock, and then I think there's boats and there's pool seating. There's all these different places you can watch it from. I'm like, oh, this
Yeah,
is such
yeah.
a great idea. Whoever put this together.
Yeah, I think we've played out there before. We've done a lot of shows in Arizona, so that'll be nice. Hopefully, it'll be. The one time we walked on stage in Arizona, it was 110.
Yeah, no,
It's crazy.
I'm trying to think of. I think this is it July or I? But Parker's a little bit cooler, and if it's in the water, people will be like in the pool and stuff. I don't. You guys.
Yeah,
You guys
hopefully we'll get a little breeze off the water. That'd be nice.
yeah. If it's at night, yeah, it's not because 110. That's more like Havasu or like Phoenix.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Parker's a little bit cooler, but yeah. Do you like doing the outdoor shows as opposed to the? I mean, if the weather's nice.
I like it all. I don't care. It's all the same process for me and this band. We just want to be the best we can be for that moment of time.
Yeah, my problem with the indoor shows sometimes is that they got to have good acoustics because I notice that if it's echoey, I'm like, dude, this does not sound good, and it's not the band's fault; it's the venue.
Right. Yeah. There's nothing we can do about that. It's like we got to just concentrate on what we're doing and hope that, people are having a good experience.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's all. Like, you have a manager that takes care of all that shit. I would think I would hate as a musician.
course.
I would hate doing all that crap. Like,
We have a tour manager. I have a manager. I also have, a booking agent. We have it all.
that's nice. So you can just focus on writing songs, singing, and doing all the fun stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I have to put my business hat on a lot as well, but I'm used to that at this point.
Yeah, like with lineup and stuff like that. Like that's all you, right? You're deciding who's going to be in the band and all that sort of thing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, it's not all me. I
Oh.
listen to my team. I listen to me and Stevie. We talk about everything, and yeah, we make sound decisions together. But yeah, ultimately,
Do you have advice for younger bands with things like that, with lineups and things? Like, do you ever think that you trusted the wrong people? Because you seem like a pretty nice guy, and I feel like sometimes nice guys get taken advantage of.
I'm not a nice guy. I'm not.
Oh, you're not.
I'm not an asshole. I'm just. I like to work. I'm definitely a workaholic, and sometimes this band wears people out. And you got to make changes. Listen, you're only as strong as your worst link in the chain. You know what I mean? So you have to make changes. Did I know it was going to go this way? Yeah, it'd have been nice to have the same lineup for our whole career, but it's very hard to sustain that, over 2 decades, which is what's going on, and anytime we've made a personnel change, it's always gotten better, and that's always the goal. It's like, well, this isn't working. Let's figure out why it's not working, and let's make some changes. And yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable for a second, and then it's going to get better.
Yeah, and so I mean, do you keep in touch with former members, or you keep peace with them, or do you have bad blood with some of them, or?
I don't keep in touch with them because there's nothing really to talk about, and it's nothing personal. It's just that we parted our ways for a reason, and everybody goes on with their lives. It's not like it's nothing personal.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, this album is, like I said, it's out June 13th. You're going to be on the road. You got awesome shows coming up, and I hope to catch you in that Parker one. That looks like fun.
Absolutely. See you
All
at the
right.
rock show. It's gonna be
Okay.
great.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Take it easy, buddy. Bye.
Topic, one of a kind. From the rockers to the wise men.